Hey, friend. Today I want to walk you through exactly how I plan my next 90 days without overplanning, without perfectionism, and without creating some big, rigid plan that I immediately want to rebel against. Because if you've ever spent hours planning only to feel overwhelmed, behind, or totally motivated afterward, you know what I'm talking about. And I want to say this right up front. If planning has ever felt heavy or stressful or like just one more thing that you're doing wrong, that's not a you problem. That's a planning problem. I spent 26 years in the corporate world, and every single year we did these intense annual planning sessions. Leadership teams, flip charts everywhere, detailed strategies mapped out all the way through December, and then reality would show up. A few weeks into the year, something would change, whether it was budgets, priorities, market conditions, you name it. And those carefully crafted plans either had to be redone afterward or, more likely, they were just abandoned. So one of my strongest convictions is this. Annual plans are too long and too rigid for how most of us actually live and work in 2026. That doesn't mean I don't believe in thinking about the year at all. I do. I like a high-level annual direction, but the real progress, the kind where things actually get finished, happens in 90-day chunks. 90 days is long enough to make meaningful progress and short enough to stay flexible when life and business inevitably change. Before I get into the steps, I want to lay the foundation with just a few beliefs that shape how I plan. First, planning should support action, not delay it. If planning becomes a way to avoid doing the work, we're missing the point. Second, overplanning is often just fear dressed up as perfectionism. That thought of, I'm not really ready, I need to think about this a little bit more, I need to plan a little bit more. I've been there and I have said all of that. And third, you don't need more goals, you need clearer priorities. Fewer things, better focus, more follow through. And if staying focused feels hard for you right now, by the way, I go much deeper into that in my video, How I Stay Focused in a World Built to Distract Me. That one pairs really nicely with today's conversation because planning without focus just turns into noise. Okay, let's get into it. Step one, start with direction, not details. When I sit down to plan my next 90 days, I don't start with a task list. I start by zooming out and asking a few simple questions. What worked in the last 90 days? What didn't? What feels unfinished or messy? And what does this season of my business actually need right now? Sometimes the answer is growth. Sometimes it's cleanup. Sometimes it's stabilization. There's no right answer here. You just want to be really honest with yourself. This step is about setting direction, not making promises that you're not sure if you can keep. Step two, choose up to 3 core projects. I'm going to be very clear here. 3 is the maximum, not the goal, the cap. And honestly, 1 or 2 is often better because you still have client work, content creation, admin, and, a life. Every time I've tried to cram more than 3 major projects into a quarter, everything ended up slowing down. Overwhelm and decision fatigue kicked in. So now I limit myself to 3 business projects for the quarter. That's it. This is also where focusing on what actually moves the needle matters. If you struggle with picking the right projects, or you feel like you're busy but you're not profitable, I talk a lot more about that in Focus on What Works, identifying your most profitable business activities. That video helps you separate meaningful work from busy work, which makes 90-day planning so much easier. I also add one development focus. So 3 business focuses, 1 development focus. And this is something I want to learn or improve. 1 course to take, 1 skill to learn, 1 habit to develop, that kind of thing. And then step 3 is break projects into action, but don't overdo it. Here's something I say all the time, including to myself. You can't do a project. You can only do the tasks inside it. I learned that concept from the book, Getting Things Done, by the way. So once I've chosen my projects, I create a simple project plan. I brainstorm the action steps. I capture some thoughts and some ideas just to get everything out of my head and either onto paper or into a tool. But, and this is so important, don't try to plan every step up front. You're not going to think of everything, and that's okay. Overplanning every detail early on is usually a waste of time because, like I said, things are going to change. I want plans that can bend without breaking. If you want to see how this fits into a bigger picture strategy, I walk through that in I built a strategic plan that matches my goals. Here's how you can too. Think of that as the zoomed out version of what we're doing here. Okay, step 4, spread the work across 90 days. One of the biggest mistakes I see is this. People make everything due at the end of the quarter. If you do that, you'll just drag things out in the first 2 months and then end up burned out trying to do everything in the last 2 weeks. So I ask myself, what's the main focus for each month? I break it out month by month, and I stagger the deadlines. I make sure I'm not cramming everything into the last few weeks of the quarter. This alone reduces my stress level so much, and it makes execution feel doable instead of overwhelming. So here's how I keep my plans flexible, and it starts with mindset. I expect my plan to change. Energy's going to shift, opportunities come up, life happens. Adjusting your plan isn't a sign of failure, it's being responsive. A good plan isn't rigid, it's a guide. And if you're thinking, well, this sounds good, but I'm not ready yet, let me say this, that's probably perfectionism talking. Perfectionism doesn't mean that you care more about the end result. It usually means that you're afraid to start messy. Confidence and clarity come from action. And I know that you've heard me say this before, done is better than perfect. Always. If you want help walking through this without overthinking it, I've got 2 options for you. First, I have a free 90-day planner that you can download. It's simple, it's practical, and it's designed to help you get clarity without overwhelm. And if you want more structure, guidance, and accountability, my 90-day planning bootcamp walks you through this entire process step by step. I'll include links to both of those in the description. Let me leave you with some final thoughts. The goal of 90-day planning isn't to predict the future. It's to make it easier to take action today. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a workable one. And you can do almost anything for 90 days, I promise. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of my videos, then hit subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.